Thank you. I'm going to go back to start the land acknowledgement again. We've got Portland Public Schools recognizes the original inhabitants of the land on which our city and schools stand. The Wolastoqey or Maliseet, Micmac, Penobscot, and Passamaquoddy tribes, known collectively as the Wabanaki Confederacy or People of the Dawnland. We are honored to have Wabanaki children among our students today, and as a district, we are committed to making the past, present, and future of Wabanaki peoples visible in our schools and classrooms. And as a reminder of our mission, the Portland Public Schools is responsible for ensuring a challenging, relevant, and joyful education that empowers every learner to make a difference in the world. We build relationships among families, educators, and the community to promote the healthy development and academic achievement of every learner. And our definition of equity. Equity is all people being held to high expectations and having access to opportunities that are reflective of their individual needs, identities, and experiences. Equity is achieved in Portland Public Schools when there are no identifiable differences in outcomes and experiences for any population subgroup. We are now going to do public comment. So if anyone would like to give public comment here, or if you would like to give public comment on Zoom, you can raise your Zoom hand and we'll call you. Okay, perfect. Let me just go over the guidelines. So I know they're long, so if you can stand, if not, feel free to sit back down. Let's see, public comment. Members of the public may speak on any subject directly related to the operations of the schools, except for personnel matters or complaints concerning specific employees or students, which shall be addressed through established policies and procedures. If an item is on the agenda, please use the public comment time associated with that item. Comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes or 6 minutes for individuals using an interpreter to make their comment. Individuals may not relinquish a portion of their allotted time or to another speaker. The board may not respond to comments, and please refrain from responding in the audience. Speakers must refrain from engaging in disruptive conduct, including but not limited to using vulgar and/or obscene language, threatening others using words or by other actions, using pejorative or discriminatory language with reference to a person or group on the basis of their religion, ethnicity, nationality, race, color, descent, gender, or other identity factor, making defamatory comments exceeding the allotted time limits, talking over or interrupting others, offering repetitive comments, and offering comment on matters unrelated to the school district's programs, policies, or operations. I will stop any public comment that is contrary to these rules. To give public comment, you can come forward to the podium or raise your hand in Zoom. Please begin by introducing yourself with a name and address. We will alternate batches from Zoom and in person. I will keep the time and raise a yellow folder indicating that you have 30 seconds remaining. I will raise a red folder signifying the end of your time. If you get to the end of your allotted time and would like to request more time, you may do so. And I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer that we are going to have the superintendent from the Minneapolis Public Schools joining tonight during public comment, and he's coming from another meeting. So when I see him come up on Zoom, I'm going to move him to the front of the line, just letting everybody know. But please go ahead and proceed.
Good evening. This is about the Boundaries Committee, so let me know if you want me to sit and wait.
No, you can give comment now.
Okay, thank you. Angela Tillotson, Plymouth Street. I want to thank Dr. Scallon first and the board, all you are doing right now to keep our students safe. Just want to mention that first. I'm here tonight to speak about the Boundary Committee updates. My fifth grader is currently at Talbot. We live on Plymouth Street, which is literally right there next to Casco Bay High off of Allen Avenue. Of note, my son has no siblings. When we went to enroll him into kindergarten, we learned that Plymouth Street was right on the border of Talbot's school line, essentially the last street in that direction where the neighborhood school is Talbot and not Lyseth. We enrolled him at Talbot. He has thrived and made many friends. When the Boundaries Committee was formed, I was surprised to learn that Plymouth Street's neighborhood middle school is currently Lyman Moore. It appears Lyman is assigned to all of the streets from Morrill's Corner to our street, Plymouth Street. I could see from the Boundary Committee's updates that one of their proposals was to change Plymouth and the streets from Plymouth to Morrow's Corner to Lincoln in order to keep the students within the same neighborhood of where their elementary school classmates will be attending. I believe I saw a statistic of 80% of Talbot students are districted to attend Lincoln. Our neighborhood looks to be in a small portion of streets that are proposed to change to Lincoln. This change sounded positive to me as my child's friends and classmates, all of whom who live off of 302 and Forest Avenue, will be attending Lincoln next year. But I know when Dr. Scallon attended our last PTO meeting, he informed us that the Boundaries Committee was now unlikely to recommend any changes to middle school neighborhoods. I was a little disappointed to hear this. I'm puzzled why our street would have our children currently attending Talbot and not Lincoln next year. For continuity, it seems that our street should be Lysis, then Lyman, or keep as Talbot and make us zone for Lincoln. So I'm asking, could the board consider our neighborhood in looking at the Boundaries Committee recommendations? If the neighborhood maps stay as is, would there be an exception or options for students in our neighborhood to be able to stay with their classmates and attend Lincoln instead of Lyman? Would the school board be willing to address a plan or exception for these students so they're not separated from their classmates and the friends that they've already formed strong bonds with for 6 years? I'm here to advocate for the best interest and mental health of my child. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you. And we do have the superintendent, so we're going to move to Colin Beachy. Greg, if you could let Colin speak.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can. Thank you.
All right, all right. First of all, just to clear up here for you, I am the chair of the board. I am not the superintendent. So
Apologies.
that's all right. That's all right. Listen, I know that you have a time limit here, and so I'm going to try and respect that, but I do have some things I'd like to share with you. First of all, my name is Colin Beachy, and I am the chair of the board here in Minneapolis. And the city is frozen still right now, but it is vibrant and it is resilient. And I want to send a clear message to you all here right now that we are with you with everything that you are about to go through. You know, I'm here tonight because I spoke with your board chair a couple days ago, and it's clear to me that some of the things that you are about to be going through are things that we've been living through here for the past month. And I thought it might be helpful to maybe hear from someone who's actually been going through this on the ground. And so I want to be honest with you and not to frighten you, but to just kind of ground you in the reality here. The surge started here in December, and it was just almost immediate chaos in the city. It really didn't affect our schools until January 7th. That was the day that I think you've all seen on national news. Renee Nicole Good was killed by Jonathan Ross. And on that same day, there was a targeted operation, and you need to get used to that phrase. They use it a lot. They were chasing a car through the city. It ended up right in front of Roosevelt High School, just as the students were being let out of school. The officers mistook them for protesters, rioters, and ended up tackling two teachers, arresting them. They have been released, and pepper sprayed a dozen or so of our students. One of them directly in the face with a projectile. And the thing is that we were lucky that day, and it's very odd to talk about students being pepper sprayed and talking about being lucky. But none of our students were detained, and none of our students were removed. But over the next several weeks, not just in our city and some of the neighboring cities and the neighboring suburbs, we have been increasingly seeing numbers of students disappearing. You've all seen the young boy, the 5-year-old, that for some reason officials believe is better off in a detention center in Texas than with his caregivers here. You all have seen what happened this past weekend over and over again from several different angles. Just yesterday, we had teachers that were walking their students to the buses and to their parents' cars, and ICE agents decided to get in their cars, circle the block with their horns blaring, with their sirens on, and that's their targeted operation. Grown men taking pleasure in terrorizing children. So the thing is that that's not the whole story of what's going on here. And this city is certainly determined that is certainly not the ending of this story. This past Friday, I think hopefully some of you saw that on TV as well. It was one of the coldest days of the year in the past 2 decades, actually, here. Listen, and I'm a lifelong Minnesotan. When I'm telling you it was cold, I'm telling you it was cold. Okay, it was cold. But by some estimates, as many as 50,000 people showed up and determined to stand with their community and their neighbors and their state. And you know what? No one told us to come. No one paid us to come. We came because we knew and we understood something pretty important here, that no one was coming to save us. So we made the commitment and took out that social contract and decided that we were going to save ourselves. We've been through so many moments here now where many of us have truly understood what community means at this point. And it's more than about just knowing who's living on your block. It's more than just saying hi to someone. It's about time to start getting to know them. It's about time to start getting to know your neighbors who have children. It's time to start caring about your neighbors. It's time to start uplifting them. And it's time to start knowing that they will be there for you when you need those moments to be uplifted. We have this thing up here that we like to call Minnesota Nice. I shared that with your board chair. And last Friday, we showed it in the most real way possible. I told you it was cold, but it's like, I think every Minnesotan, they interviewed a teacher that was talking there with her father, and she said the most Minnesotan thing, well, it's not that cold, you know? And it's like, we have all said that at some point here, even when it's 20, 30 below. But we showed that Minnesota Nice in the most real way possible that day. And I'm here to tell you all, now it's your turn. And show us your strength, show us your determination, show us your community, show us Portland. Before I log off, there's something I want you to know to be true. Here in Minneapolis, no matter what you have seen, we have been through a lot. But we are still standing. Our schools are still places of learning and care. And our communities, while they're imperfect, we have grown stronger and wiser and more connected because we chose to get through this together. Unfortunately, over the next several weeks and months, I don't know what's going to happen in Portland. But in the end, your community is going to write your own story. But you're not going to write it alone, because you're not alone. We are here to stand beside you for as long as it takes. We are here to share what we've learned, and we're here to offer partnership, if not prescriptions. And I'll tell you, I don't know anyone in Portland. The only one I've spoken to has been your board chair. But I just have a belief that the biggest prescription that you guys need, you already have it. And you always have. And that is going to be each other. It's time to show the entire country your Portland power. Be safe. Be smart. Be there for one another. Be in community. Be Portland. And always remember, Minneapolis is with you. I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for those words. Really appreciate it. And just know that we are standing with you as well. Take good care of yourself and stay safe. Who would like to, did you want to come to the microphone? I thought maybe I saw you start to get up. Anyone else for public comment in the audience? No? Okay. Well, then I guess we are going to go ahead and close public comment. Yes? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move into my remarks now. And I must say that when I was writing these remarks, I found myself pulled between anger and sadness over what we have witnessed here in Portland in this past week, and at times having no words at all for the horror of it. Last Tuesday, our federal government began an immigration enforcement operation here in Portland. Members of our community were taken from their cars, their homes, and their workplaces by masked law enforcement and transported to unknown destinations. Some of these incidents occurred near our schools during drop-off and dismissal, people taken and made to disappear without explanation. The impact was immediate and overwhelming. By Wednesday, student and staff attendance had dropped, fear had entered our classrooms, and our systems were flooded by families needing support and community members trying to help. And help they did. I want to take a moment to name the many ways that our community has shown up to protect one another. I want to thank the organizers who built a school watch infrastructure last fall after a parent was detained outside of our school grounds. I want to thank you to the hundreds of parents and community members who have volunteered for this school watch, showing up early mornings and late evenings to ensure students can get to and from school safely. I want to thank the immigrant-led organizations working around the clock across the city to help connect families to legal services, transportation, and financial support. I want to thank the food pantries and the organizations packing and delivering thousands of boxes of food and delivering it into our community. I want to thank the lawyers who are now making house calls. I want to thank the thousands who have taken de-escalation and verifier trainings and who are now putting their bodies in the line of harm. I want to thank the PTOs across the district who are raising funds and coordinating closely with our schools. And I want to thank the chair of the Minneapolis School Board, who I wrongly introduced, by sharing hard-earned lessons from their own prolonged surge. I'm deeply grateful to everyone who has given time, money, and love to complement the work of our district. Superintendent Scallon will speak more to this, but I want to say clearly our staff, from custodians to educators to district leaders, have shown extraordinary care. Their commitment to our students and families is unmistakable and unwavering. Schools cannot function at their best when this kind of fear is present. Learning breaks down when children are worried about whether their parents will be home at the end of the day or whether showing up to school puts their family at risk. What we are seeing here in Portland is not a side effect. It is the direct result of immigration enforcement practices that destabilize families and harm children. Portland Public Schools is not going to look away from that reality. Our responsibility is to our students, full stop. We will continue to investigate and respond to enforcement activity, support families navigating fear and disruption, and work with our community to keep schools as safe as possible. But beyond systems and protocols, we will speak clearly when harm is being done to our students. We will stand with our families when fear is used as a tool, and we will continue to show up together as a district and as a community, because the safety and humanity of our children demand nothing less. I'm proud of us, Portland. Please keep it up. And in less pressing topics, these pivots are very hard. The pre-K lottery is open right now. So if you have a little one who is at pre-K age, you should be registering for that lottery. And I also, I know we had some public comment tonight around Boundaries Committee. With everything that has happened in the last week or so, the report is not ready for the board yet. So I am going to be moving that to February 10th, and I promise it will be here then. Just a reminder to all board members that we have a retreat this Friday. Please take time in advance to review the materials and to be there at 9 on Friday. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the superintendent.
Good evening, everybody. Just going up to my comments. I'm going to talk about 3 topics tonight, one of them previewing a topic for the board this evening. But first, I want to just start by sharing an update that I had sent to the community on Saturday. And it read, you may have seen that a PPS parent, Micheline Ntumba, was detained. Micheline is not only the parent in this situation, but I share her name and story with her family's permission because it has already been widely reported in the news. What wasn't reported is that not only is she a mother of 4, but she's also a valued member of the PPS facilities team. She's legally approved to work in the United States and had a background check approving her to work in schools. Her detention has hurt our community and left her children with no head of household. Within that context, our schools are doing everything possible to support her family, as well as other students, families, and staff who need it. In addition to the direct assistance provided by our own staff, we're also working closely with community service providers. This includes coordinating with partners to ensure that families get the food they need, and when possible, that they have transportation to and from school. As Board Chair Lentz mentioned, I just want to mention that when we think about the work of educators and what is going on in our classroom, that is a full-time job, just educating. And yet what we're asking our educators to do now is so much more than that. And in that challenge, they have stepped up time and time again to do whatever is necessary. And there's a debt of gratitude that I think we owe them, and just sincere appreciation for everything that they're doing and will continue to do. One of those pieces that we're exploring is around the question of when, if, and how we need to consider any possibility of remote learning. That's a topic that we will have tonight. And we're going to look at it within 2 very different lenses. One is recognizing that if we move to a 4th snow day, where inclement weather prevents regular school, our plan is to have a remote learning day. And so we want to share with the board and receive your approval for what that remote learning would look like, if that's necessary, based on weather. The other scenario is about what we would need to do to support learning for students who don't feel safe attending school, and if that were to go on for a prolonged amount of time in the current enforcement environment in which we're living. I share that to say that we live in a world right now where we're wrestling with 2 bad solutions, right? We're looking at a solution where a student is out of school, or where remote learning is a solution. We know based on research that whenever possible, it is in the best interest for students to be in school. Whether you think about it from social emotional aspects and being with peers, to physical health and having access to food, to the academic learning that we know is stronger when it happens to in-person. It is simply better for students to be in school learning there. We also know that the longer remote learning happens, if it does happen, that there are declines in academic outcomes, achievement gaps widen, and students experience difficulty in social emotional challenges. We know that. Research shows that from all of the time that virtual learning happened within COVID. And so tonight, as we go into the conversation, I'm hoping that we can go in with truly a collaborative problem-solving mindset where we don't have good environment and good solutions, but we know that we need to wrestle with this. How do we provide students the best academic experience possible within this context? And how do we get them back to school as fast as possible? And so tonight we will have that conversation near the end of the agenda. The third topic that I just want to share about is an update that happened several months ago, but now we're in a space where we can share more information. And so in the first weeks of February of 25, the district did experience a cyber incident where we've now been able to identify that we were hacked. As soon as we identified that in February, we immediately began working with experts in cybersecurity to ensure that our systems were as strong as possible. That's work that went on for several months and continues now with additional layers of security that we have within our IT system. Our systems are now stronger and we feel secure. We also worked with outside experts to see what information was potentially accessed when that hacking took place. We're now prepared to share with individuals whose information was accessed. We've worked with outside experts to do that analysis and to set up both potential credit monitoring for individuals who may need it, as well as a call center to answer any questions. For anybody whose information may have been accessed, they will see that a letter is going out on Friday. There's both a general letter that is going out to everybody, just informing them of the situation, and then if their information is accessed. And there you will see guidance on next steps, including where appropriate, either access to the call center line to get additional assistance or to other recommendations around how to secure their financial information. And so that will be going out on Friday. So just wanted to share that here tonight and answer any questions you may have about it. Thank you.
Superintendent Scallon, is that letter by email or paper? I couldn't quite tell from your remarks.
So the general letter that's going to everybody is electronic. The letter that is specific about information will be mailed to your house.
Thank you. And up next, we're going to do our committee reports. So the first committee will be Finance, Personnel, and Operations.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Super. Wonderful. Okay. So the Finance, Personnel, and Operations Committee moved forward the Capital Improvement Plan, also called CIP, proposal through to the full board. So we had two different presentations from the facilities team going over the basically mountain of work that needs to be done across the district with their recommendation about what specifically to include in the capital improvement plan that needs to then move out of committee to the full board and then on to the city for the purpose of being included in bonding to be able to borrow money to pay for this work. So the committee voted to move that proposal forward, and I believe it's on the agenda for this meeting to have the full board review, discuss, and vote on that tonight. We also continued the preliminary work of discussing the fiscal year 27, the FY27 budget. So specifically, what we got a presentation on from staff was the roll forward budget from last year with staff requests and what that would look like purely for discussion purposes, not to say that all requests would be moving forward, but to have a discussion about what that would look like. And we also got a presentation from staff about organizational structure, how that has evolved over time, and a little bit about, how resources have been reallocated as they need to do relatively frequently in any large organization. And in terms of needed board action, like I said, we'll be voting on the capital improvements plan proposal today. And as a heads up preview for our next meeting and ongoing meetings, we're of course going to continue to discuss the FY27 budget. Our next meeting will include cabinet recommendations for areas of investment. So moving forward from the roll forward budget with staff requests to starting to refine the conversation in terms of where we can really invest to improve outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bryden. Is there any questions? Board Committee Chair Bryden? Okay, let me just double check online. Okay, I don't see any questions there. Beautiful. So we're going to move on to policy. Go ahead, Board Member Lena.
Thank you, Chair. So the policy committee this past month, we had presentations on two policies. The first one is a new policy to the district, which is policy ECC, temperature standards. This is in regard to extreme temperatures, too hot or too cold within the learning facilities and potentially within vehicles. So we had the first presentation from staff. The policy would indicate a minimum and a maximum temperature at which investigation into fixing an issue or modifying the learning space or closing the facilities would be. These issues come up in the beginning and the end of the school year in some buildings when it becomes too hot, as well as in the summer with vehicles for summer programming. And with regard to modifying the learning space, what I meant by that was if a classroom is too hot, maybe there's an air-conditioned space within the building that students could be moved to. So again, the policy would indicate a minimum and maximum temperature. So we are just starting to discuss that. Another policy that we are in discussion about is policy IHBB, which is a policy that we have. It's the policy for gifted students. We're looking at a revision of this policy. We had two presentations from Jesse Applegate and Kathy Ball at Central Office to discuss how Chapter 104 programming is run. Chapter 104 refers to the state's chapter on programming for gifted students. The district is hoping to move towards a universal screening process, and the district is currently piloting a universal screening in one grade level at East End Community School. The committee overall seems to be in favor of the practice of universal screening, but budget and staffing would need to be overhauled for this type of change, which is why the pilot is happening right now. Staff is working on revising the revisions or the second revisions to the policy to make it more expansive to allow more students to have access to this type of extension work rather than focusing on the language of the policy on the practice of screening. So it's still evolving. So that's where we are with those two policies. In terms of, and just to clarify, we have not voted on either of these, but we will be hopefully soon. With regard to needed board action, we are looking at some policies tonight. So those will come up on the agenda. And then at the next meeting, we will be looking at the proposed 2026-2027 district calendar.
Any questions for Chair Lena? Yes, go ahead, Student Representative Grant.
I don't know if this, I think
You're good.
by like testing for 104, like a general, would that mean every child would be tested to
Yes.
get into this program? Okay.
Yeah, currently the way that it's done is that students are referred by teachers and also through the state testing. That's the process that's used. So it's just a limited number of students that are recommended. So the move would be to test every student or have every student be screened or considered.
Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions from the board? Let me just check. Okay, we're going to go to curriculum and student success. Go ahead, Board Member Opperman.
Thank you, Chair. We, curriculum and student success, heard from the special ed, Jesse Applegate, his team, in reference to how things are going, because last year the Portland Public Schools employed a DMG group to lead an expansive review of all special ed programming. And it was found that the need for professional development for all members of staff who worked in special ed and with special ed students was a key finding. The team has created and provided opportunities for the teachers, ed techs, service providers, and mental health professionals to achieve more depth into their knowledge, including learning about the universal design for learning, a teaching approach that provides multiple means of access to content, providing access to all learners. Based on the survey so far, 79% of the staff who took the PD found it mostly or totally relevant to their work. While the presentation focused on specialized programs, there was information that support for students with mild to moderate disabilities, including implementing schedule software to study staffing needs, planning pilots of new programming, and updating guidance around IEPs. The bulk of the program discussion was on the specialized programs, which include BEACH, which helps students on the autistic spectrum, Breathe, which helps emotional and behaviorally challenged individuals, foundational life skills, students who need help and instruction in very basic personal needs, and foundational academics, students who need instruction in very basic numeracy and literacy skills, among other content. The team from the networks completed their first walkthrough. We'll have another one, and they observed certain aspects that all students, they were looking to see if all students had, all staff had access to behavior plans and IEPs, if students had access to learning visuals or first set boards, other kinds of key learning experiences, looking at how the pairing of students with appropriate assistance was going, and the number of student absences. Overall, the percentage of alignment for each program was averaged, and the results were that Beach achieved 90.5%, Breathe 87%, foundational academics 88%, and foundational life skills 100%. What was really known was that all staff consistently had access to key information. So observations in the spring will include specialized curriculum delivery, differential instructions, and student data. IEPs was a particular concern of the findings from the review, and now there will be a monthly IEP compliance report data, reporting data on looking at legal timelines for IEPs and written notice, accuracy of dates for future IEP meetings and evaluations, and matching key state reporting data between Acuity and Infinite Campus. We expect to hear detailed district-level data from the group at the next committee presentation. Family engagement, of course, is critical and to student success in all areas, but it's even more so with special ed. District has hosted 2 parent universities so far, and 1 more to come on various basic aspects of the special ed programming. And also the district has begun a process to establish a parent advisory committee. There's nothing that the board needs to act on tonight. And next time we'll be discussing school climate and a middle school initiative.
Wonderful. Any questions for Chair Opperman on this? Just double checking Zoom. Okay, I see no one there. Okay. And then up next, we have Public and Legislative Affairs, which I chair. The last meeting in this month was just focused on bill tracking and understanding what bills were coming into the State House and any action that we wanted to take on those bills. We also got finalized dates for community engagement this spring. I believe there's 5 different dates, a mixture of during the day, in the evening, and online to hopefully get as many community members involved as possible. So those will be communicated out soon. And also the action that we need from the board on that is to just watch your calendars and to be able to join those as much as possible. And then one other note about the committee is we have added additional Monday night meetings on the off weeks of committees just to go through the bill tracker to make sure we aren't missing an important bill. So you'll see those start to be on the calendar next week, right? Yes. Any questions about public and legislative affairs? Okay. And then last committee is our ad hoc committee that has been formed to work on the RFP for the equity audit / investigation that is upcoming. And Chair or Vice Chair Bondo chairs that committee, but in her absence, Board Member Bryden is going to give us the update.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we had our first meeting at the beginning of which we elected Mickey Bondo as chair of the committee. We had a discussion about committee member and staff collaboration, specifically around committee members, really determining the scope of the work that's needed by an external firm and making sure that we're tracking along with the content of the December resolution and talking about how staff can then assist us with the mechanics and process of putting that into the format of an RFP and publishing that and sort of helping to support us as we move through that process. Had some preliminary discussion about the selection process itself, factors to include, things like that. And at our next meeting, what we're going to be doing is the members of the committee will be bringing to the conversation specific items that we each as individual committee members would like to see in the scope of work that ends up in the RFP. We're going to be bringing those basically 3 lists of essentially wish list items that we would like to see accomplished by the external firm, compare and contrast those lists and have a discussion about which ones should make their way into the RFP scope of work so that it can move along through the process and be incorporated. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Great. Any questions on this? I am just curious if you, maybe early, I know you've only had one meeting, but if you have a timeline that you're working on yet?
Not at this time.
Okay. Any other questions? And just one other question, if a board member wanted to give, if they have follow-up questions or wanted to give input, how would they do that? Should they come to the meeting or reach out to you directly?
I mean, I think that, attending a meeting is always, I don't want to speak for Vice Chair Bondo, who's chairing the committee, but I would say attending the meeting is always a welcome thing to do, or reaching out by email, one-on-one to avoid the meeting notice rule issues. But yeah, I think generally the modes of communication that we already use would be great.
Perfect. Thank you. Board Member Bryden. Up next, we have the report of the secretary. So we're going to have the consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes of January 13th, 2026. Are there any corrections to those meeting minutes? Okay, I see none. So there are no corrections, so the minutes are approved as distributed. And then we have personnel tonight.
Good evening. I'm going to do personnel real quick. We have one individual up on personnel tonight, Jeff Burnap, who is transitioning from being an assistant principal at Deering to being a science teacher at Moore. Jeff has been unbelievably gracious in his leadership at Deering over their transition as they've gone through leadership, and was ready to step back into a classroom. And so tonight you will vote on and approve that position.
Thank you, Superintendent Scallon. Is there a motion for the consideration and action to approve the personnel items, election of teacher candidate probationary? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Is there a second? Board Member Opperman. Are there any questions from the board? Toggling back and forth on my Chromebook, and it's just a little bit of a different skill, so apologies for my delay here. Any general discussion by the board? We don't take public comment on personnel items. So then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve the personnel items, election of a teacher candidate probationary. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali,
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo, Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Lena,
Yes.
Member Noor,
Yes.
Member Opperman,
Yes.
Member Sawtell,
Yes.
Student Representative Grant,
Yes.
Student Representative Milstein Jones, Student Representative Mohammed,
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien,
Yes.
Chair Lentz.
Yes, so that motion is approved. And then up next, we have old business. So up first, we're going to have the consideration and action to approve changes to policy ACAA, which is harassment, discrimination, and sexual harassment of students. I'm not sure, Dr. Warren, if you want to speak to this motion.
No, I don't have any comments unless people have questions.
And as a reminder, this is a policy that was worked on in the policy committee, came to the board, was referred back to the committee, and is now back with lots of amendments. So is there a motion for the consideration and action to approve changes to policy ACAA, harassment, discrimination, and sexual harassment of students? Thank you, Board Member Ali. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Are there any questions from the board on this motion? Do you have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
I would just like to ask if somebody could summarize the policy.
Yeah, Dr. Warren, are you able to pull it up at all? Or if you wanted to
Do
just
you want
verbally.
to see it, or do you want to just have me and give you a summary of what
A
we
quick
what was done?
explanation is fine.
Yeah. So ACAA is the policy specific to students, and we're about to do ACAB, which is related to employees, and it deals with harassment, discrimination, and sexual harassment. And the primary changes that were made to this one were related to the required changes. So as each administration has come and gone, they slightly shift the definition of harassment and sexual harassment within the law. And so we have to kind of tweak some of the language to address that. And then the reason it went back to the policy committee from the board last time was because there was a recommendation through public comment to change some language in the policy. Essentially and it was adopted and came forward to the board here and went to, so this is the second read. It was first read last meeting. And it has updated language that essentially insists that the staff will put the link for the harassment and reporting form, harassment and discrimination reporting form will be online available. It is already, but this now states that officially through policy. And that reinforces an option for people to informally report, not just formally report these types of incidents.
Thank you. So at this point, I would be looking for any public comment on this policy. And if you are on Zoom and would like to give public comment, you can raise your hand. Okay, so I don't see any public comment. I'm going to close public comment. Is there any general discussion from the board on this motion? Okay, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve changes to policy ACAA, harassment, discrimination, and sexual harassment of students. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali,
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo, Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Lena,
Yes.
Member Noor,
Yes.
Member Opperman,
Yes.
Member Sawtell,
Yes.
Student Representative Grant,
Yes.
Student Representative Milstein Jones, Student Representative Mohammed,
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien.
Yes.
Chair Lentz.
Yes, so that motion, actually, before I say that, could you repeat Board Member Noor's vote? I did not hear it.
Member Noor, I did not think she was on. Is she there?
She's here.
Okay.
Board Member Noor, how did you vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
I apologize.
Perfect. I just saw her picture flash up, but not the sound, so that passes unanimously. And then we have, as Dr. Warren referenced, we now have the version of this policy that is for school employees. So it is the consideration and action to approve changes to policy ACAB, harassment, discrimination, and sexual harassment of school employees. Is there anything that you wanted to say before I ask for a motion, Dr. Warren?
It's essentially the exact same language. It's just all about employees instead of students.
Great. So is there a motion for the consideration and action to approve the changes to policy ACAB? Thank you, Board Member Yusra Ali. Is there a second? Board Member Lena. Are there any questions from the board? Board Member Bryden, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a quick question. I'm in the public side of board docs, and the red lines document doesn't have any red lines. So I'm wondering if the file name is.
Hold on. Let us all look. And Dr. Warren, I feel like you might be best suited to answer this.
Yeah, hold on. Let me take a look at what got uploaded. Yeah, it looks like the version that got uploaded is a not red line version. So if you would like, I can quickly find the red line version and upload that.
I think as long as it gets uploaded,
Yeah.
that would, I don't think that we necessarily need to have it like in linkable at this moment. Is it possible maybe to share a screen just so we can visually quickly see what the changes are?
Yeah,
Super.
a second.
And I guess that my follow-up question would be, are the changes material, but functionally very similar to the red lines in the previous?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly
Yeah.
the same.
Super.
Um,
That's very helpful.
hold on a second. Okay, I have it in front of me. I'm just going to log on to the meeting so that I can project. Okay. So again, this is, I just want to be clear, this is the same as it was in the first read, so nothing has changed between first and second read. And the primary changes are under this definition, Title IX, sexual harassment. And again, this is exactly the same as under the ACAA, which you just approved. And then scrolling down further, this is where the amendment was made by the committee. that was recommended through public comment.
Thank you, Dr. Warren. Thank you, Chair.
And I'll go ahead and upload it as well to Diligent now. I apologize for that.
And that's okay. Thank you for that. So is there any public comment on this motion? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands in Zoom or here in the room, so I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. Any general discussion from the board? Okay, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve changes to policy ACAB, harassment, discrimination, and sexual harassment of school employees. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo? Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Lena?
Yes.
Member Noor?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
Member Sawtell?
Yes.
Student Representative Grant?
Yes.
Student Representative Milstein Jones? Student Representative Mohammed?
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien?
Yes.
Chair Lentz.
Yes, so that motion passes unanimously. Up next, we have the consideration and action to approve changes to policy GBEB, staff conduct with students. Dr. Warren, would you like to speak to this?
Well, this is a new policy that we're really needing to create as a district because we don't have it yet, and it's already cross-referenced in policy ACAA. It is a gap. Most districts do have a policy like this that governs staff conduct. And the policy committee took what was a sort of basic draft from the legal team, what they call a model policy, and then spent several meetings adapting it and editing it to make it more Portland sort of oriented. There was a fair amount of feedback from school and district leaders, a little bit of feedback from one family at least who had reached out with an interest in this particular policy. So those things sort of went in and helped shape the current version.
Thank you, Dr. Warren. Because we have gotten a lot of feedback about this, but we also have not, I haven't seen any board members circulate any feedback or amendments at this point. And we did have a lot of feedback that has come in the last 24 hours. I would like to make a motion to table this to the February 10th meeting. So that is my motion that is on the floor. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Are there any questions from the board on that motion?
When we come back, will it be a second read or a first read?
It would be a second read still. It would just be, I would hope that someone on the board will make amendments based on the feedback that we have been receiving. Yeah, thank you for that clarifying question. Any other questions from the board? Any public comment on the motion? Okay, I don't see any public comment, so I'm going to close that. Any general discussion from the board on that? Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a good idea.
Thank you, Board Member Opperman. I think one of the things that are two of the things that I have been hearing in the comment that are commonalities that I think we just need to look at language, because I think people are interpreting kind of like the intention differently than we had in committee. So I think some language changes around what it means to refer students to social workers or counselors and kind of like the issues that they should be talking about with other staff versus social workers and counselors. And then I also think that there was a lot of question about the one-on-one pieces with staff and how that would work or not work. And just really want to acknowledge that, Superintendent Scallon said this earlier, there's so much on everyone's plates right now that I think any kind of, change or big change like this, we really have to think about the words and getting them right. So I don't know if anybody is interested in working on an amendment. Board Member Lena is, and maybe, Board Member Sawtell. So we'll be looking out for some amendments from you on what we've been hearing. Then by roll call vote, we're going to take a vote on the consideration action to table this second read of policy GBEB to February 10th. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali.
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali.
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo. Member Bryden.
Yes.
Member Lena.
Yes.
Member Noor.
Yes.
Member Opperman.
Yes.
Member Sawtell.
Yes.
Student Representative Grant.
Yes.
Student Representative Milstein Jones. Student Representative Mohammed.
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien.
Yes.
Chair Lentz.
Yes, so that motion passes and we'll take this up again on February 10th. And then the final piece of old business we have tonight is around the consideration action to approve the capital improvement plan. So I'm not sure if there's anybody that wants to speak to that.
We have no additional information except that the board should have seen in its board update a brief blurb answering the ADA question and projects there. So if that is something that the board wants to have an open discussion, we can certainly invite our director of facilities, Tamara Sweeney, to come up. But otherwise, it's the same information that was presented last time.
Thank you.
I have a question. I'm not sure if it's appropriate to ask now or wait until after the motion is on the.
I think you can ask now and then
Okay.
I can.
Super. It's a
Redirect.
staff question. So the materials that are here seem to be the same presentation that moved through committee. And I believe I remember in the committee conversation, some discussion about making some of the items a little bit more generic and less tied to location and more like HVAC across the district versus HVAC in a particular building. So I'd like some clarity around, are we voting on what the materials reflect in the here, or are we voting on the more high level generic version of that?
I think the one spot where there was the real generalization was around HVAC. If you wanted to propose a change, we could certainly look at it. What the city wants, and they do the CIP with us, is they want to be able to have a general and then in backup documentation, more specifics, so that the bulk of the projects would be in this the details. So happy to do that if you're interested in making that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So then I'll go ahead and ask for a motion, and then we can always make amendments if needed. So would there be a motion for the consideration and action to approve the capital improvement plan? Board Member Bryden, is there a second? Board Member Opperman. Are there any questions from the board on the motion on the floor? My only question, and my brain has been in taking a lot of information in the last week, so I apologize if I'm misremembering, but was there an additional expense that was named in the board update that may need to be brought up as an amendment in this, or am I making that up?
Yeah, Director Sweeney, do you want to speak to that?
No, that's okay.
Repeat the question.
Yes, I thought that in the last board update, I saw that there was a new expense around roofing something that we needed to potentially think about in this CIP. I could have, I've been having lots of vivid dreams lately. I could have made it up. $200,000?
Is that already in?
It's in it. Okay. Can we double check?
I need to be more specific about which roof. I mean,
I,
Or less.
hold on one second. I can also pull it up.
Delamination.
It was $200,000. I remember that. I just want to make sure that it's included and not, that we needed to make an amendment. Board Member Opperman?
It is. It's the replacement of the gym roof, which delaminated. Is that the one, the only roof in there?
No, this was different. This was different.
Portland High School.
And that-
Yes, it's recommended, sorry, we should have caught this before. It's recommended that the district-wide HVAC system requests move from $2 million to $2.2 million.
Oh. Yeah, that was, yes. That is not included in this original presentation. That was just an additional ask. If you wanted to include that in, yes.
Okay, so could we read out again what that is for, that extra money? Because I think it would be up to us to add that as an amendment.
I don't have that
you
in
want-
front of me.
So I'll do it real quick. Portland High School has an issue with their boiler system smokestack. It's a vertical exhaust system that safely vents boiler combustion gases above the roof line, ensuring proper system operation, indoor air quality, and code compliance. It's significantly corroded and deteriorating. And so there is a potential $200,000 addition to include that in the HVAC project.
Question,
Uh,
Board Member Bryden,
Yes,
go
I
ahead.
do have a question. So I am curious about staff's recommendation in terms of whether to deal with that as part of the generalization of the HVAC line item versus changing it from a 5.7 million to a 5.9 million to add it in specifically. And I'd be curious about what your recommendation would be on that.
The general fund kind of takes into account some of the other needs that we already had. So adding that in would then take away from some of those other needs.
Okay.
Okay, other
that-
questions from board members?
A question.
Yes, Board Member Sawtell.
I'm just looking at the sort of the timeline of what says milestone. What happens next? It goes to the city council?
Oh, it would go to the city finance committee, and that's when they discuss all the projects from all the different city departments, including ours. Then it will go to city council.
Is there any chance they're gonna,
Yes.
okay.
And I should finish, why don't you finish your sentence?
I
Make
don't
sure I
even
answered it
know how to,
correctly.
is there any chance they're gonna amend it, deny it?
So they have the opportunity to, I believe it's the same way as the budget, that they can just say yes or no. And then if they say no, then we have to try again, basically, which we would like to avoid. But I also think that we need to ask for these like building envelope things that are, keeping our students safe, dry, and warm as much as we can. Yes, Board Member Bryden.
Thank you so much. So two things. I just want to make sure that everybody is aligned in terms of the conversation. It's not asking for funding. It's asking for the ability to borrow money. Right. And the other thing that I think this is a staff question, but I would appreciate both for board general awareness and community awareness for anybody who's watching this recorded meeting at a later date. Just a quick couple sentences on if we were to change it from 5.7 million to 5.9 million, what that does financially, what is the financial and fiscal implication to that?
When you think about it from a increase, every $100,000 addition is around 0.078%. So it is not adding 0.1%. It's adding about 0.75% on the tax increase.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just to give this in context terms, if the ask was for $5.9 million, that's 463,000. Yeah, sorry, I messed up my numbers here. I got to think back. The original debt service on this was
451, 410.
Yeah, so it'll go up to a little under $600,000 a year. It'd be between $500,000 and $600,000. We can do the quick math to tell you exactly what it was.
Okay. And if the $200,000 investment is not made at Portland High School, like what sort of implications would there be to allowing that HVAC to fail?
Those can't be good answers, right? Like, I think we're talking
Yeah,
smokestacks
they
and
should make a
HVACs.
good
That's
decision, right?
Yeah.
It's a need. It's a need.
Okay.
It needs to, they really want us to do it now.
Okay.
That's how big of a need it is.
Thank you.
That's helpful. Thank you. Any other questions right now from board members about smokestacks, student representatives? No. Is there any public comment on this? Okay, I'm seeing none.
Can I correct math for the record?
Yes, please.
I had my decimal point off in my head when I was doing this. It makes it about $467,000. I had my decimal point off when I did the math there. And so it is about a $16 ask when you amortize it over the 20 years per year.
So do we need to do a motion to amend the, okay.
Yes, and that would happen in this next section, which is any general discussion by the board. I would like to put forward a motion to increase the capital improvement plan by $200,000, which would be a total of $5.9 million ask. And that extra $200,000 would be in the HVAC line. Is there a second on that motion? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Any questions on that motion? Any public comment on that motion? Any discussion from the board on that motion? Then by roll call vote, can we please take a vote on the amendment this is just amending the motion, and then we will vote on the total motion overall. But Dr. Warren, can you please call the roll for the consideration and action to increase the capital improvement plan by $200,000 on the HVAC line item?
Sorry, Chair, before we move to the vote, can you tell me who the,
I motioned.
you were okay.
Right, and seconded.
I apologize. I was having to create a new column.
No, I know. That's okay.
All right.
So
now
the
please.
consideration and action to approve a $200,000 increase in the HVAC line item for a total of $5.9 million on the capital improvement plan. Dr. Warren, will you call the roll?
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo? Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Lena?
Yes.
Member Noor?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
Member Sawtell?
Yes.
Member Grant? Student Representative Grant?
Yes.
Student Representative Milstein Jones? Student Representative Mohammed?
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien?
Yes.
Chair Lentz?
Yes. So the motion on the floor is amended. So now we would be doing the same thing again on the amended motion, so now the consideration and action to approve the capital improvement plan, which is at now $5.9 million. Is there a motion for that? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Yusra Ali. Any questions from the board on this amended motion? Okay, any public comment? Any general discussion from the board? Then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration action to improve the capital improvement plan as amended to $5.9 million. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo? Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Lena?
Yes.
Member Noor?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
Member Sawtell?
Yes.
Student Representative Grant?
Yes.
Student Representative Milstein Jones? Student Representative Mohammed?
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien?
Yes.
Chair Lentz?
Yes, so the capital improvement plan as amended passes. Thank you very much. Up next, we have new business, which, as I mentioned in my remarks, we're going to postpone the boundary committee to the next meeting. And then we have the remote learning presentation.
Thank you for that. I'm going to invite up Dr. Cheryl Proctor, Dr. Angela Atkinson-Duina, and Dr. Abdullahi Ahmed to present.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you to share some information. So thank you to the Board of Education for hearing our presentation this evening. As an overview, we want to share about the planning of instruction and support in a couple of different modalities. So we're going to do an overview. I'll do the overview, and then you'll hear from Dr. Atkinson-Duina, the Elementary Emergency Remote Learning Plan, and then you'll hear from Dr. Ahmed, who will present the Secondary Schools Virtual Learning Plan. Next slide. All right, so there are two conditions that we're going to be speaking about this evening. And so it's two conditions for which we will consider either virtual or remote learning. The first is regarding future snow days. As Dr. Scallon shared earlier, we have reached our third snow day as of yesterday for the year. And at the point where we need to embark on a fourth snow day, we will be looking at moving to remote learning. This is in an effort to continue student learning in the event of future snow days, as we've had a full and robust winter so far. The other condition is also individual student non-attendance. So in the light of recent local immigration enforcement activities in the area, we've seen student absences increase significantly. And that's across a number of our elementary schools and also our secondary schools. So we are looking at the need for an alternative option for learning for these students once we understand clearly and who the students are, what their needs are, and develop a contingency plan for them. Next slide. So the plan for the snow days is pretty clear. We know what we need to do. In the elementary sector, we will have snow day packets that will be that have already gone out to our schools, to our families. And in the event that we have a snow day, we will give, schools and leaders and teachers will give information and direction to families on how they can engage with their students with the learning that is designed in the packet for each snow day. In the secondary, we're going to look at going straight to virtual learning through Google Classrooms, where all Google Classrooms would be up to date. School-wide, students will experience live instruction with materials available in Google Classroom. So they will have the option of having the teacher presenting live instruction and also engaging remotely in a full virtual learning setting. Next slide. And so in general, the thresholds have been set for looking at the increase then when we talk about our students who have increased absences. And so the threshold and factors are as follows. We will look at and monitor student attendance to try to understand which students have kind of slowed down on their attending of school, especially since January 20th. We will do a cross-reference of the data for their attendance to make sure we understand exactly who the students are, understand their needs. We'll have social workers, school leaders, the multilingual team engaging and reaching out to the families. And then we'll define clearly what the family need is. If it's something that we could resolve within our capacity as a school to support our families, we will. If it's something like transportation transportation, or they're not feeling safe sending their child to walk or bus stops or something like that, we will try to do the best that we can. But in the event that it's something that goes a little bit beyond that, we will pivot to offer the family and the student an alternative modality for learning. Next slide. And, really it's about us being a community that wants to respond to our families during a critical time. And so we are collaborating, we are working with other agencies, our PTOs, and we're all at the same time. We also want to establish some routines where we're maintaining the learning in the school environments, but also demonstrating that we're willing to pivot and to do what we can to support our families. Next slide. And so our remote learning plan is just a demonstration of that responsiveness. While there are some limitations, we do know, and Dr. Scallon spoke about it earlier, that there is some research that definitely says that remote learning is not the best option, but in the light of doing nothing or not having another option at all, it is better than that, right? So we want to at least extend an opportunity, continue to support our families. It really is going to be focused on, ensuring that we could get the students in school for in-school learning as best as possible, but in the emergency mode, provide that remote learning. And also, where we can, demonstrate that we are working again with our families. We know what the evidence indicates in terms of learning loss that will happen, and any social emotional, stress that our students may face. But we know that the best place for our students to be is in our schools, and where we will work diligently to ensure that they are there in our schools as best as possible with support. We are willing to pivot as well. Next slide. So for this meeting, we're really going to ask the consideration. We recommend that the board approve the remote learning as a course of action for our future snow days, but then offer us some feedback to the contingency learning plan that we are looking at for individual students who have increased absenteeism due to heightened local activities, as we monitor student attendance and look at their trends over the next couple of weeks. So the following slides, will present the elementary plan and the secondary plan for such a case. And so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Akasin-Duina, and then after that, you will hear from Dr. Ahmed.
Good evening, Chair and members of the board. You can go to the next slide, Dr. Scallon, and the next one. Thanks for having me here. First, I just want to talk to folks about what we're seeing as the impacts right now on our student absenteeism. So you can see that 6.49% was the average daily absenteeism rate across the district up through January 16th. Then 14.02%, 14.82%, 18.42%, and 17.55% were the average daily absenteeism rates for each of our school days last week, January 20th through the 23rd. At the elementary level, different elementary schools saw absenteeism rates ranging from 5.24% to 32%. Talking to elementary school leaders about what they were seeing on the ground with those absences, what they were seeing is that many of the absences for students were intermittent absences. So students might be there for a day or two and then not, and then come back. So we are seeing that. And then we do have some students that have been out continuously. In some places, we have been able to find like finding rides to school or walking school bus arrangements have helped to get students back in school. So I was at Lyseth earlier today, and the principal, Lori Cloutier, was telling me about her, and the assistant principal and some teachers have already created a walking school bus in that neighborhood to help get students to school, and that does seem to be helping some families. Still, most of our schools are seeing increased absenteeism rates, requiring us to consider our options. So next slide, our contingency plans have attempted to address the current reality and identify options if required. We, as a team, elementary team like the network team, but also with school leaders, wanted to identify certain principles. Knowing what we know about emergency remote learning, we had that experience in the early days of the pandemic. And so given if you know what you know, you should do better like the next time. So we do think it's important to maintain a high quality in-person learning environments for as many students as possible. And so we are concentrating our efforts on that. We also want to avoid impacting all teachers in the system if possible. So if there were a need to go to remote learning, we would instead design to meet the need and have a separate cohort. We do want to be responsive to community needs at this moment, while also keeping in mind the relevant evidence that we know about emergency remote learning and the developmental needs of young children at the elementary level. So we can go to the next slide. Enrollment in elementary emergency remote learning cohorts would be based on attendance and need. So currently, this week, administrators are reviewing recent attendance records and focusing on students who have missed 3 or more days of school recently. At this stage, our goals are to identify and remove barriers, as well as to collect information about possible needs for safe transportation and technology access at home. So we're in information collecting stage right now. We also have our student support teams work with families to address the possible barriers and, where possible, connect families to resources. If barriers to attendance cannot be resolved and absences continue, we are suggesting 3 consecutive, the student is added to a list. In the event that an emergency remote learning cohort is established, and also if a student has an IEP meeting would be called before we went into remote learning. We are talking for the next slide. Having schools, we want them to be able to deliver consistent coordination, documentation, and instructional support. Were we to move into our contingency plans, we would have a planning team that would support the work of cohorts, which would include an instructional coach, culture and climate coordinator, social worker, special education teacher, network support, a pre-K lead, tech support, and ESOL educator. People in all of those roles have contributed to some of our plans. We also would need schools to maintain school-specific enrollment and staffing information, implementation plans, and communication with educators and families. We do have some, available supports within our system, including Google Meets or recorded teacher videos that could be used. We would have the ability to engage in family check-ins or virtual drop-in sessions. Many of our student support teams are already engaged in checking in with families regularly. We also have approved tools such as Boost, which is a reading intervention program, And then also other standard curriculum materials, CKLA, ELELA, Purposeful People, and Boost Reading, which would all be available for schools to use. So I just want to notice we've talked about many of, do we have the capacity to move into that? I would say we do have the capacity if that's the direction. Given the research on particularly how the challenges at elementary level, I think it's something to be taken very seriously and with some reservations. And then I just want to recognize we haven't really talked a little bit, very much about the challenges. I think this would require kind of reassignment of some staff to the dedicated cohorts and just an additional layer of trying to run 2 different school systems during that time period. So thank you. Dr. Ahmed.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'm here to share with you the secondary school virtual learning plan. And with me tonight are some school leaders, as well as the directors at the network level. So Ms. Jepson is here, and others are online or virtual, and they will join us if there are needs or there are questions that they need to answer. Next. So I wanted to spend a moment grounding us in what we see at the secondary level with the attendance right now, because it really helps us explain a lot of the things that the schools are experiencing. At the middle school level, the average daily attendance was about, before January 16th, it was 4.7%. And the first 2 weeks of January, it became 6.9, about 7%. But last Thursday and Friday, this number jumped to 19.4%, which means 1 in 5 students at the middle school level was absent. At the high school level, the average daily attendance was about 10.8 or 11% before the first until January 16th. And the first 2 weeks of January, it jumped to 12%. And the last Thursday and Friday, this number became 21.7%, which again is more than 1 in 5 students in every class, in every school. This data is just for all high schools and or middle schools, but there are differences in different schools, and this data can be segregated. A principal actually shared with me that a student called and said, if I come to school on my way, I'm scared that I will be abducted. And if I make to school, I'm also I'm sure that I will not be able to learn because I'll be worried about my parents and my other family members. So that is very troubling. And that student who said, if I make to school, I will not be able to learn. And if I stay, and on my way, something may happen to me. Next. So we use a virtual option learning plan when students experience absences due to the current context. And a virtual option learning plan will be made available to specific students with increased absences since January 20th. And also will be checked with the schools so that we will make sure that this is impacted by the current context or increased enforcement activities. The goal is to make sure that there is a seamless transition to a virtual learning that maintains uninterrupted access to the curriculum and due to the absences of the current context. And the students will learn virtually while also they will remain part of their classes. So it's not creation of another class, but there will be accommodations so that they can still access their classes. The district will maintain the ability to provide both in-person as well as virtual learning options for students due to the circumstances. Next, Dr. Scott. So every virtual option learning plan will include a clear and shared features. So some of these shared features will making priority learning accessible to all students. Learning expectations will continue while responding to the needs of the students. All Google Classrooms will be up to date so that the students will have access to the materials. And each student has or will have a designated point person, a shared virtual plan that accessible to all the relevant staff, and also regular check-ins with social workers and school counselors. Next. Schools will deliver consistent coordination, documentation, and instructional support. So each school maintains a tracking record, a spreadsheet, linked to the student plans, a directory of the Google Classrooms for all the school courses, and school-specific implementation plans and communication will also follow. Specific education, special education teams will make sure that we are following and students are receiving their IEP plans and with the required services. And available support will include a real-time, which will be in a Google Meets, or recorded teacher videos, office hours, and virtual drop-ins to access your teachers or the teachers, and also some other resources, including Lexia, Khan Academy, and other curated videos and materials. And the collaboration and supports for the schools will be available, paired with weekly reflections to monitor and adjust plans. Next. And this is time for questions and discussions.
Great. Board Member Lena, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation. This is a question for all three of you. I think anyone can take it. I'm just wondering for clarification. So the plan for elementary school would be to create a cohort of virtual learners and essentially a virtual school. But for the secondary, it would be each individual student is continuing to access their own schedule and their own classes.
So it's all based on individual student need. This contingency, again, is really to mitigate our students who are demonstrating high levels of absences at this time. And then so where we see, like, for example, and I'll have Dr. Atkinson Duena help me with this, but where we see at a particular school site a number of students, it could be 5, 10, we'll have a designated teacher to ensure that they're able to work with, kind of like that point of contact. Would you like to elaborate?
So I think there are kind of two levels of plans. At the elementary level, the technology access is not as extensive as you have at the secondary level. Just to, they are not taking home computers daily. So if we do not have right away the capacity to have like a full-on remote learning like you saw in COVID at the elementary level. Just right now, they are focusing at the secondary level to make sure that they have enough hotspots and things like that for families. So they have focused that on the secondary level. It would take time if we wanted to implement that kind of synchronous learning like folks saw during the pandemic for a cohort. What we feel like we would be able to do is host like morning check-ins for families, afternoon check-ins, either remotely on like a Meets or by phone, depending on the access that the family has right now, and then using our current resources to have packets or things that they would be able to work on with support at home. So if So anyway, so it would not be like a full-on classroom setting, like you said, unless it were, we would need more time to prepare for something like that and to get our families ready for that. Our families also don't know, like they don't have to manage the technology in the classroom like a teacher does. An elementary student often needs support. So it would also require, that requires some kind of assistance at home, which we're not, it's not clear that that would take a lot longer to get ready for.
Other questions from the board? Board Member Sawtelle, go ahead.
Okay, I feel like I need to preface this by saying I'm mostly talking about snow days and things like that. I get really excited about virtual school and online learning. I have a master's degree in that. I loved teaching remotely during the pandemic. My daughter would correct me because the pandemic is still going on. But anyway, so I'm going to ask a whole bunch of questions. I worry that people think I'm being critical. I'm really just curious and excited. I've been recommending since 2007 in this district that we maintain a constant cohort of teachers and students who might be accessing online learning through other organizations. And then to make those teachers and students sort of the point people should we need to expand for a snow day or some other emergencies. So I'm just curious, these are questions about the elementary program. How would we, now I'm talking about snow days, how would we measure whether or not elementary students participated? Like, what if they came back and didn't do any of the packet?
So I'm gonna just tell you, I did spend at least some point in my professional career as a educator in an online learning setting, and I think we should, recognize that setting that many of us have become comfortable with, and as professionals and adult learners, is a planned, intentionally designed curriculum for online learning. That is a really different setting than emergency remote learning, which is what we would have to be doing right now. So I think it's just important to distinguish between those two because they really are not the same. And I think, the discussion about should we have an online, option for students is great for another time, like to dig into that deeply. But right now, what we're talking about is the remote learning. So if you're talking what we do for snow days, I can address that. We do send packets home. We ask students to bring those packets back. We ask teachers to make a good effort to collect the packets, and that is how we connect. We have mark our attendance. If families if those don't come back, then it's marked as an excused absence. I think in this setting, we'd again do our best efforts. I think attendance would be different in a contingency, emergency remote learning situation where we would be trying to have check-ins, like the virtual check-ins or a phone check-in. And in that case, I think we would move to having those be the attendance markers to see if students are participating, how things are going. But it is, I mean, the challenge of just, counting attendance and, are they able to engage in the work? Do they there's a lot of questions, which is, I think, one of the big challenges with remote learning in general, especially at the elementary level. It's just, hard to assess how it is going. So.
And I know that's a topic for another discussion, but it bothers me that we got a lot of experience at that time, and then we just abandoned it. I mean, I think we did learn a lot. What would teachers be doing on a remote snow day? Are they expected to be available?
So we do have some guidance around that right now it's in draft stages. I've shared it with school leaders around this is what the communication that would go out to elementary educators. There is like opportunities for planning, for being available online to answer questions, to engage in their regular meetings if they have a planning meeting. So that's what we have developed. I mean, I could share it at a later time. It's right now still it's just being finalized to go out. We haven't, this is for the last 2 years, we have not had to go into the remote learning plans. So, but we reckon it is a work day, and it's actually, I think, an opportunity to engage in some professional work and be available online in a way that most elementary educators are not able to do in a regular day. Their planning time is pretty limited at the elementary level.
Great. And then I had some questions about the secondary.
Okay.
If, and again, I'm mostly thinking about snow days, would a student's schedule stay the same? So if on a snow day, assuming we're using Google Classroom and Google Meets, is the vision that the schedule would stay the same, so it's 9 o'clock and you click into, algebra class, et cetera? Or would the schedule be changed like it was?
The schedule will remain the same.
Great. And has there been any guidance or discussion with students about keeping their cameras on? When I was teaching remotely, students had better results if they kept their cameras on. But I know that's also a security risk because anybody talked about, I had a lot of students who worried about immigration stuff who would not turn their cameras on or would put a Post-it note over the camera or whatever. Is that something that's been discussed?
We did not discuss that, but definitely we're not asking students to put their cameras on because of what you mentioned about relation to the safety. One thing that now teachers monitor or can monitor is that the work to be done. So if the students are engaged, they can monitor from the Google Classroom as well, and how actively they are engaged. But the cameras is not discussed yet. But I could just knowing this context, I wouldn't ask students to just be on the camera if they are not feeling comfortable with it.
I think that guidance needs to be really clear with teachers, especially if the remote option is true for students who are not coming to school for security reasons, that teachers not ask them to put their cameras on as well. I think
Thanks.
Some people might try to insist on that, and it really shouldn't be something that's done. Okay, I think I get really excited. So sorry.
Thank you, Board Member Sautel. Other questions? Board Member Ali?
Hey guys, thank you for the presentation. My question is on confidentiality with the attendance, whether it's teachers, staff, or anybody who has the list of individuals that are not currently attending school. How's the confidentiality? How are you guys going? How are you guys going to be able to contain that from building to building and families to families?
So I appreciate the question and the concern around security. So FERPA is the federal law that restricts what information can be shared about students and their academic records. And so things like their attendance records would be protected under FERPA.
Other questions from the board? Board Member Bryden, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. As always, so appreciate all the information. My first question has to do with the snow day protocols. As the parent of elementary school students, I mean, packets are great, and they're not the same as school, obviously. I'm hoping to better understand how much specifically at the elementary school level, how much is this like continuing the learning and how much of it is trying to get stability for the end of the year calendar? If we have, 3 more blizzards, is it Like, is it 60-40? How much of it is trying to be able to land the plane at the end of the year and say, this is our last day of school?
So I think if we want a more robust, elementary plan that is still doesn't rely on technology, like, I don't know if it's a different set of packets or updated, whatever. I think there are definitely some improvements that we could make there. I think we've got to recognize that for the most part at the elementary level, this is a convenience factor probably for families, for having some predictability in our calendar and knowing when the school year is going to end and when summer plans can start, when they can schedule camps, when they can't. So I think it is a trade-off in terms of learning. That's not I think bringing these back up again has made us kind of reflect on those plans, look for ways that we might be able to improve them. I don't, at the elementary level, given like some of the challenges with technology, I don't see us doing much in terms of synchronous activities on snow days ever, just because of the technology access. But, I think there are some improvements we can make, but I don't know that it hasn't been an area of focus for us because I don't think it's a high leverage area for where we can make a lot of gains in terms of learning. So that's my
No, I appreciate
take on
that.
Yeah.
And then I had my other question, which is really just a jumble of thoughts, is more to do with the emergency planning, which I so appreciate, and also want to acknowledge that there is no good answer. I mean, it's a horrible situation, and there's no like, oh, it's this thing. No, like it doesn't exist. I completely understand that. And recognizing that we cannot get to where Board Member Sawtelle wants to be anytime soon. There's pros and cons for that as well. And recognize. I really appreciated, Dr. Atkins and Duena, what you said about how many of us are accustomed to remote learning and remote participation as adults. It's definitely different from being in a emergency setting or a school setting. Also, wanting to acknowledge that even as an adult professional, it's one of the worst parts of my week is if I'm the only remote participant and other people are in the room. So just acknowledging that that's really challenging as well. But I wanted to get a little bit, and these might be questions that haven't really, been fully talked through, but wanted to raise them just in case, or to bring them up for future conversations. I'm curious about, so if we move forward with emergency remote learning, particularly for secondary education for the entire district, but I think a lot of this has to do with secondary education specifically. I'm curious if there's been thought about how long it would be offered for, what the criteria would be for both, individual participation. Also, is there, can we be thoughtful about, we are going to continue to offer this until X, those sorts of data-driven variables.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Actually, we spent some time in this weekend as well as on Friday talking about what this means. And there are other aspects of teaching and learning that we did not talk about. We did not talk about assessment. We did not talk about grading. We did not talk about that long plan. We were just talking about how we respond and adapt to this immediate things that circumstances that are going on. So we will be monitoring day to day and seeing if there are the attendance or the context that created the attendance is lifted. And but this is like function of or contingent of what is going on, and we cannot put a time limit. But there are other aspects as we go. If we go longer, that we will be talking about like what the grading will look like, what the assessments will look like, how we so there are other aspects of teaching and learning that we will be looking into. But that's it.
Refine it.
Yeah, we monitor and refine and evolve as needed.
Have there been conversations also about if, for example, if other marginalized groups heaven forbid, find themselves needing some. So, for example, if LGBTQ students are being targeted in the future, is that something that has been discussed in terms of potentially like continuing to monitor who is feeling unsafe?
Yeah, the goal is like to accommodate all our students and their needs and make sure that they can access education. So yes, definitely, if there are some other communities which are targeted, we will adapt and we will meet the needs of the students.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Board Member Ali.
Last thing, how are you guys doing on the, I mean, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to answer this, but how are y'all doing on the lunches delivery, if that's if that's what's happening for all the students?
Oh, go ahead.
I can't speak to numbers, but I can say that there are a combination of things going on with support from the foundation. We've expanded basically our opportunities for our social workers and family engagement specialists to support by getting Hannaford gift cards out to families. And then we're also working closely with the Cumberland County Food Security Council, which has many members. So a lot of the organizations that you're familiar with are all part of that group and coordinating with each other. So those organizations are also available for us to call on to actually take food to families. So it's a kind of a combined effort with regular meetings, including another one today, where folks are trying to make sure that there's, that things are streamlined and not chaotic, easy for families to access.
Okay, so I know those numbers are like staggering and gonna whether they deflate or inflate, but from 6%, I believe, into to 21%, how are they, communicating with the families? Are the families actually contacting the schools and saying, "Hey, we're not going to be probably going to school for the next week," and then that's how the lunch and deliveries, whatever, or the Hannaford gift cards gets accommodated?
I think it's a combination. That can be triggered by anyone really if they see a concern. But yes, I think Dr. Atkinson-Duena was just talking about tracking attendance as a way to make sure that we're catching places where there are students who are out significantly. But we have our social workers taking the lead at the school level on making sure that those connections get made in terms of connecting to services. And our family engagement specialists and Dr. Valenzuela's team are playing an important role at the central level. They have very strong relationships with families, and so they're in constant contact and identifying those needs for support and helping ensure that people get what they need.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, was just thinking about that and making sure that it's kind of like, that families are not being like forgotten, but thank you guys for all the work.
Add something here. I just want to, I was just in many different schools today, and they all have lists where right now they're starting to check to make sure that every student who has been absent is being checked in. In addition to the central efforts that Sarah's speaking to, I know many schools have been collecting, like I know Lyseth, I know Talbot have been like for food drives or even like diaper drop-offs in case those are things that families need. So they aren't receiving the school lunch, so we're aware of that and trying to meet those needs through our community partners and through through drives at schools. Yeah.
It's going to be, that's a lot. That's a lot, if you really think about it, of 6,000 students, even if we said 10% of that would be about 600 roughly. 600 families to drop off, or 600 students to drop off foods and things like that. Are you guys finding any trouble? Or is there like a lot of volunteers that's supporting as well? Or is it?
I think like the main effort really is coming through our community partners. And then if schools find that there's a need within their community, they're working individually with those families to see what the best way is to meet. And just, making sure to be mindful about, if staff want to help, that there's a way for them to do it in a way that is manageable. So maybe somebody picks up some groceries, maybe another person helps to organize it and another person takes it, so we're trying to be mindful of like people can help in ways that they can. That is what some of the just examples that I saw in schools today. So.
And I would just add, several community organizations are pumping out thousands of boxes of food over days and working with tons of volunteers to get those out. So I do think your question about like, are we missing anybody or is anybody not getting it is really important to hold. And I do think that there is a lot moving out in the community for sure. Questions, Board Member Opperman?
Yes, I'm coming from an optimistic viewpoint that this will end. And knowing that things, no matter what we do, as far as an emergency setup, there will be gaps. There will be so many things that students will not get, whether it's a kindergartner or a 12th grader. And it's not something that can be solved tonight, but I really do want to keep in mind of potentials for continuing the school year for some or all, just to make sure this can, I know that the look I'm getting from the high school students is, pointed. But it's because, or at least some kind of intense post crisis situation that we have some backup for these people, because they're working hard. Their brains will work better. So it's just something I would like to keep in mind as we move forward.
Can I speak to that real quick? I think that makes a lot of sense. And one of the things that we should just consider is that our summer programming is actually budgeted for in the next budget. And so it's a really good thing just as a placeholder as we go into budget season, thinking about that summer school programming and any sort of response to our current environment, whether it's social, emotional, academic, both, that we consider that in the budget process.
I had just a couple of questions, and I think the places that I'm still getting the sense that you're kind of figuring out is around like the thresholds of like what triggers a kid from being absent multiple days to participating in remote. Is that true? Like that there isn't like we don't have a line at the elementary, at the secondary, or is it clear in your mind what that threshold would be right now?
So there are students who are already reaching out to their teachers or staff members, and teachers and the staff are already starting to accommodate them. So, and also regular monitoring and school leaders are engaging, and SST student support teams are engaging to look into the data and reach out to the students. So it could be like one student at the time and group of students at the time and looking into this, as well as it could be like we are in that critical time that we can send communication but we are not there yet. We are just identifying individual students and reaching out to them, and whether the social worker is dropping work at home or whether the teacher is accommodating, but there are things that already are happening. Yes.
I'll also add here that when we think about chronic absenteeism, by definition in general, is when you have a student that reaches, upwards of 10 absences from school. And now we are into the second week of this. So it really is an emergency mindset that we have to really put these contingencies in place as soon as we're able to identify the student and or family in need.
So that is helpful. And I think, I'm also just like curious. The fear is very real in our community right now, and also the drive to want to fix all of these problems. And I just am curious if there are like steps that we could put in place that would have to happen before a student moved into a remote. Like, we know how hard it is to get students back once they're in remote learning. And like my worry, I want the best learning outcomes for our students, right? So, we're hearing from so many teachers and families that the getting to school and the coming home from school are really the parts that is like the most fearful. And like, I know that we are working with PTOs but like, are we taking those lists that you mentioned and like lining that up with what the PTOs are to make sure, again, like Board Member Ali said, that we're not missing those kids? And could we, is there a way to move money in the budget to get a specialized transportation that would like literally go and pick up kids with a PPS employee to get them safely to school? Or I guess I just want to think about like, you've talked a lot about the barriers, like let's also focus on bringing those barriers down as much as we can in ways that are safe and feel right for families to get them to school.
Absolutely. And it's kind of like a yes and yes. We want to get to that yes and yes in this entire situation. And we've not really encountered this before. So like someone else had said, we're going to have some learning each day as we are trying to execute, support, and continue learning for children. But definitely we know that there are benefits of thinking forward in terms of the budget, in terms of recovery of learning, in terms of additional supports and interventions that we could put in place later on to kind of continue to wrap our arms around our students post this scenario.
That's super helpful. And then Dr. Ahmed, are you able to speak to, are the secondary schools, like, do they have their lists ready that are starting to like monitor the consistent absences?
Yes, the team is working, and at this time it's just as going back to that question, it's just meeting the students where they are, and also identifying the resources which are available. And this option will be part of the resources or the accommodations that are available. But as you said, like identifying these community resources and the supports that are available is one of the things to offer the communities to meet their needs.
Yeah, thank you. That is all very helpful. And then I just think, our next board meeting is February 10th. I would really like to get, as quick as we can, even daily updates that have been disaggregated by student population to the board, because it does feel like if we do need to trigger this across the district, I do believe that there needs to be a board vote on that. So I think I see the plan coming, but I want to know what the plan is if we need to enact it, I guess. I don't know if anybody can speak to that, or Board Member Ali. Go ahead.
I can't speak to that, but
You can speak on something else if you
follow up. But
yeah,
I think I was gonna also like make that request, but on a weekly basis, at least every Friday, I'm trying to see the percent of absences. That would be helpful, so we can also be supportive in determining how we move forward. Another question that I just really had for the people that were supporting, the individuals that were supporting with rent and housing for the houseless or families. I know a lot of families and parents are probably not going to be able to go to work because that's a risk, right? Either you do take the chance to go to work and you might get picked up and lose your kids, or you don't go to work and if you don't pay your bills, you get evicted, and it's just so it's like a lose-lose situation. And I just kind of I know you guys, this is not really have to do with academics specifically, but for the other teams that are working with that, I just want to kind of get an update from how that's going, if that's a issue or whatever.
Yeah. No, and I maybe wonder if we could get like an in between of data twice a week on maybe Wednesdays and Fridays. That would be great. And I saw Dr. Valenzuela. Did you want to add something? I just saw you come over. I wasn't sure if you were trying to. And then we have Pamela online as well.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to say that some families are afraid to be separated from their children. It's not necessarily that it's not the ride from and to school. It's about being separated. And so we have to take the lead on what families want and not make assumptions about what it is that they need. They know what they believe they need to make decisions for their children. So I just want to say that it's not always about the ride to and from school.
Yes, thank you. And I apologize if I implied that that was the only reason, but that was not my intention. I'm glad that we are listening to families.
Just want to say that we are listening to families, that you're right, and we are providing those rides. There are PTOs working hard on providing those rides as families approach them. But there are still families who do not want to be separated from their kids. Thank you.
Thank you. And Pamela, I see you online. Otuno, if you want to come off mute.
Yes, yeah, thank you. Just wanted to add at the secondary level to your question about when is this going to be triggered, or when will we start offering support for students? And really, our leaders and our educators are seeing the need, and they don't want any gaps or students to fall behind at all. And so that's why, whether it's just one student in a classroom or a group of students being impacted in the classroom, there's that desire to move forward and make sure that students are following along through Google Meets, whether virtually or offering other flexible alternatives, but really wanting to start that right away, and really concerned too about our seniors, right, who need to graduate. So their credits are crucial for them finishing this year. So if we do move forward with this, there's that desire, ask is to first move forward at the high school level with really providing that support to make sure seniors finish strong. But it's not like waiting for a cohort of kids before we move forward with this, right? It's really starting right away. And as Dr. Ahmed mentioned, some of our teachers are already doing that even now, right? So just want to make sure that there's that support for us to move forward as a group, and to make sure there's a system in which that happens so that all students are caught and not waiting any longer.
Thank you. Board Member Upperman.
Thank you for all of those comments, because I understand that issue with high school students. I guess my question is, because I think what you're asking, Chair, is how do we know that we're headed in the right direction with whatever we do? And I guess what the question is, how set are you to start this as soon as possible? I mean, that's my real big concern.
I think there's two things that I could say. One is, we've been in discussion, as our assistant superintendents have shared, year over year. There's been conversations about what to do with emergency snow day plans, right? And so we're here with that, with the snow days, and this is really building off of some of that as foundational. I think the schools are ready. They have what they need. We've been talking to leaders pretty much daily over the past week, with getting updates and getting a sense of what they're seeing in their buildings and in their communities. And so we've been having the grounding conversations for this. Schools were asked to build a contingency plan to start thinking about what this would look like over a week ago. And so as we came up with two things happening at the same time, which is us reaching the 3-day mark with our snow days, and unfortunately this scenario, they have been thinking really deeply about it. So it kind of converges at a point where, in a very small instance, again, we're not talking about all students. We're talking about class by class, student by student, making a determination. The determination is made because we are monitoring attendance. Schools are able to go into Power Schools and do a flush of students who have missed the past 5 days. They're also then able to drill down that data to see who are multilingual or ESOL without making assumptions, then contacting families and having a conversation about what it is the family needs. So the schools are primed and ready. Again, we're not going full sail on this, but if it's case by case, student by student, I'm confident our schools are ready.
And the teachers.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'll let.
And the one I want to mention also, this was the effort of all the leaders, including the network leaders, as well as the assistant principals, and Ms. Jepson is here with me. You can say something about the readiness.
Thank you. Yes, we're ready. And we've been preparing, we've been communicating with students and families. They've been communicating with us. And I think that's a piece I want to add is that our students are asking what can be done? How can I be part of my class? And so we're ready to do this, and we'll continue. I think we have built into our plans weekly check-ins, personal contacts. We've got a group of probably 18 to 20 people who will each have a group of students that they'll be responsible for checking in with. So we're ready.
Thank you. Thank you to all the teachers that are willing to do this.
Yeah.
Board Member Ali.
Yeah, just quickly, and this isn't, I know you guys are ready. I mean, I would only expect, like, they're talking about, abducting children. I would only understand that everybody's going to be reactive and trying to protect. So I don't question that at all. My point is really based on like the rhetoric and the statements that are coming from negative news, and just around a lot of the ignorant, I would say. Ignorant things that are coming out, about specific groups, and particularly, to be honest, Somali groups, where, something about where are they putting their bodies or something like that. It was just ridiculous, and it's very dangerous, actually. And being a Muslim and an East African, understanding that just they put it in the grave. But anyways, like these things that are really, really dangerous. How are we? Making sure that like the teachers and everybody are just doing the best they can to make sure that these messaging, all this stuff that's happening is yeah. Anyways, but yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Board Member Ali. Other questions from the board? Yes, Student Representative Grant, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that like today at school, Miss Jepson basically said it. But just that a teacher was asking me as a board member, like, I know that this is going to be spoken about, and me as a teacher and also other teachers who have more of a need have like talked about it and they want to do it. And students have asked them, like, I think this isn't like all these people who work at central office and us saying like, oh, this is going to be what we're doing now. I think students have been, this is what we want to do. Like, obviously, I can't speak for everyone or close to everyone, but I think from what I've heard that students want this to happen. It isn't just something that's going to be, obviously it's case by case, but it isn't just going to be something that's told to them that they have to do.
Thank you, Student Representative Grant. I have one other question. I mean, I guess that what I'm hearing now is that, and tell me if this is wrong, but a snow day seems like we have a good plan. It's ready to be voted on by the board. And then for elementary and secondary for emergency remote, it sounds like that we would like to put forward a case-by-case plan that address needs based on families' needs. Right? That's what I'm hearing. So what I would recommend to the board is like, I think we just need to make sure that that is legally okay as a plan that we vote on. I'm sure we could get Drummond and Woodson within the next 24 hours, and then we could have an emergency board meeting to approve that. I think that that's what we move forward with. You listen to your families, you create plans, and we monitor it on a biweekly or twice weekly basis through metrics. So that would be what I suggest to the board. I don't think we need a formal vote because I'm not sure it's a motion yet, but that's what I would suggest that we move forward to. If anybody has suggestions or discussion around that, I would entertain that. But otherwise, I'll be moving forward with the superintendent to talk to legal about that.
Do you need a motion to talk to legal?
I don't think so. Okay. We're only, let me just double check with Fatuma online. And did I see another hand online that I missed?
Betsy had her hand up. Back up.
Okay. Yes, Betsy, go ahead.
Good evening. Sorry, I struggled to unmute there for a minute. Thank you.
That's okay.
I just kind of wanted to give a little feedback and just give like what I'm getting from parents. A lot of my families could not, a lot of the parents I work with could not come tonight in person, but the online, learning is a very big ask. It's been an ask since this started. And this is from parents as well. Because they're nervous again with what Grace said. It's not just so much getting to the building, it's the not wanting to be separated. So this is something that as soon as possible, like I can show you messages on my WhatsApp. This is a daily thing. Parents are very worried, not just about the learning, but like elementary school, they just want the kids to keep busy. So they're not constantly worried about what's going on. So like I just urge as fast as we can move on this. We did it pretty quickly. When we did it COVID, it actually, I know it's a completely different situation. But this is one that parents, they really, really want this. And not just parents, but students. My high school students are worried about attendance, worried that they're falling behind. And the high school parents are in the same boat. They're wondering like the question right now that I'm getting is, why is this taking so long? Because we've done this in the past. So my families are kind of questioning that it's taking a while. And meanwhile, their kids are falling more and more behind, for something that's really out of their hands. Like they really can't take certain risks. So I just want to urge that please, like, as soon as we can get this going so that those parents that are really wanting this can access it as soon as possible.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that additional perspective and information. I think it's super helpful with the board. And, we can reach out to the law firm tonight. So that means board members just be looking for communication from me tomorrow about an emergency meeting to vote. But right now we can go ahead and vote on the snow plan that is proposed tonight. So I would be looking for a motion to pass the fourth snow day remote policy as presented tonight. Board Member Ali is a motion. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Is there any?
Can I just
Yes.
clarify? Do we need a vote to bypass the first read before we vote?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
We've got two things set up for that, so two votes.
This is why we work as a group. So we're gonna, I would be making a motion to bypass the second read for this, because I think we might have another snowstorm very soon. Is there a second? Board Member Ali? We're gonna do a raise of hands on this vote. So if you're in favor of bypassing, so that is unanimous in the room. And then let's just double check. Fatuma also was a yes on that. So we're going to bypass the first read and then put the motion back on the floor to pass the snow day plan for remote learning. Second, Ali. We are in Groundhog's Day. Great. And now, any questions from the board on the snow day plan? Any public comment? Okay. Any discussion from the board? All right, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of passing the snow day plan as presented tonight that will kick in on the fourth snow day of the year. Dr. Warren.
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo? Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Lena?
Yes.
Member Noor?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
Member Sautel?
Yes.
Student Representative Grant?
Yes.
Student Representative Milstein Jones? Student Representative Mohammed?
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien?
Yes.
Chair Lentz?
Yes, so that motion passes. And then I'll be following up with lawyers tonight. And I think maybe one ask that we'll just need before the vote would be to have some written documentation, which I'm sure you can work on about the what it means to work with families one-on-one. Thank you all for your input in that plan, and hopefully we can get it resolved soon.
Chair, can I just raise one procedural issue before you move on?
Yes.
Because I missed member Noor earlier on, I just wanted to double back to the personnel vote. I didn't record her vote there. I'm not sure if I missed her voice.
I think you called on her. Board Member Noor, did you vote on the personnel item?
Yes, I did. It was a yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. And so now we have two executive sessions coming up. First, we have the consideration and action to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056E to meet with legal counsel, followed by the consideration and action to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056D to discuss student enrichment coordinators for contract negotiations. So do I have a motion to move into executive session? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Second, Board Member Opperman. All those in favor? And I would just ask that we take a 10-minute recess before that. So I will see you in the executive session room at 8:40.
doing it. A roll call.
Okay, Superintendent or Dr. Warren, who is recording the votes, please? Okay, we're just gonna get a
Thank you.
computer set up here for the vote. We're also recording, so you could just watch the end if you want to. But first thing, I just wanted to make a motion to amend the record, the notes for the next meeting. The first executive session 10.1 on the agenda, we did not actually end up having due to some scheduling conflicts. So just want to note that for the public and then the minutes for next time. And then we're almost there. We're going to have a vote on the student enrichment coordinator's contract. So I will make a motion for the consideration and action to approve the student enrichment coordinator's contract. Is there a second? Board member Ali. Dr. Warren, are you just about ready? I'm going to just go through the process though really quickly. Are there any questions on the motion? Any public comment on the motion? Any board discussion on the motion? Actually, we shouldn't have taken public comment because it's a personnel issue, so strike that from the record. But then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve the student enrichment coordinator's contract. So Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Chair Lentz, sorry, just to clarify, do student reps vote on the contract?
Yes, they can vote.
Okay. Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo? Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Lena?
Yes.
Member Noor?
Yes.
She's still here? Member Noor?
She's here.
Can you hear me?
There you are.
Oh, can anyone hear what board member Noor said?
Not really.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Member Opperman?
Yes.
Member Sawtelle?
Yes.
I think Student Representative O'Brien is the only one left.
Yes.
Chair Lentz?
Yes, so that motion passes. Thank you all very much. And then I'd be looking for make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. And all those in favor? Okay, we are adjourned at 8:59 p.m. Board members, I will see you on Friday. Bring snacks to share. Thank you.